Welcome to True House Stories. I'm Lenny Fontana coming out of New York City, in the cold tundra, the Arctic. First snowstorm happened and we got a little bit of brushing, but New York State and up there is getting blasted with continuous snow. It's like, again, we got people stupid enough to go in their cars and get stuck out there on the roads. They tell you stay off the roads. Someone please tell me why. Why in God's name would you go and run out knowing there's a massive snowstorm, you get stuck with your car? But anyway, that's another story. So let's go in the little boat across the ocean through the hurricanes and get to that part of the world which I love the most as a DJ and record producer, and a person that loves making records and enjoying these people so much. And I'm saying the English, the UK. I'm going to set our sights on the United Kingdom. Recently, this pair of guys, this team, the dynamic duo named the WhO, was on a show by MistaJam. And MistaJam was pushing and saying, who the hell's under those masks? We want to see who's under those masks. It turned out on MistaJam's show, they unveiled the mask. And I'm going to ask them why they decided to do it, because they liked the idea of going out where it was just focused. For them, the idea was focus on the music. Don't look at us. Just focus on what you're hearing, because we want you to like what we're doing. And then we'll show you how handsome we are later. But right now, we want you to love our music because we're so damn handsome, okay, that you may fall in love with us and then forget what you're dancing to. But we want to keep you locked and motivated on that dance floor, to say the least. This talented duo has generations of respect from one of them and a younger guy as well, as you will hear. So it's nice to hear that the two worlds can come together with experience and knowledge, bring it all to one to make big hit records. Big hit records. They're streaming heavy. They're Grammy nominated. Remember that? I said that, Grammy nominated. That is a big to-do and a big deal. Okay? Especially for a dance act and dance producers to get Grammy nominated. So, enough of me talking. Without further ado, let's bring up the WhO, Tom.
Hello, guys. Yeah. Hey, man.
Right.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you for coming on, guys.
It's
It's
an
my
honor.
pleasure.
All
I
right.
will say this, your management kept me in the lobby for a year waiting. It kept me in the
He
lobby,
does that.
like in The Godfather. They kept me in the lobby waiting to take a number. So I had to wait. But anyway, it was worth the wait. And I'm glad, because I know originally when management came to me, they said, well, Lenny, they want to do with the mask. I says, I don't have a problem with that. He says, I think we're going to be doing something special soon, and we want to wait. Good old George. We give George kudos. George
Yes,
rang
mate.
me and said, they're ready. So now we're ready. We're ready to hear your story, both of you.
Love that.
Welcome
Mate.
to the show. Hope you guys are fine. You relaxed?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, all good. All good.
All right, so here's how we do this. I'm going to ask one question, and you're going to have to each take turns, because each one of you is very important. So I ask it the same way every time. How does music find you, or both of you, as young kids, and to where you basically meet? It's like almost like dating. The dating game. Here we go.
Wow. Who's going to start? Rob, do you want to go first? Tell your story?
Yeah, I'll start.
All right, mate.
Well, I started music, like the first experience where music made me feel amazing was like I lived with my grandmother, and my uncle was a pianist, and like he used to like play in jazz bars and piano bars and stuff like that. And once he put me on his lap and put my hands on his hands, and he started playing this amazing thing. And that's the first feeling I had, where I went, ah, shit, this is amazing. Do you know what I mean? And kind of from there onwards, that's where I got the seed and the bug, I think. Do you know what I mean? And then I started music lessons and blah 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 blah. But the magic happened is when I was 8 years old, and I realized that you actually can invent your own melodies. And from there onwards, I stayed on that piano for 16 hours a day. Do you know what I mean? So that's how music found me. That was the first kind of.
So before we go
Awesome.
before we even go to Tom's story, let's just make sure music finds you that way. So of course, at 8 years old, piano lessons, melodies, and all that takes us to the point to how you become a record producer. So keep going on. Let's hear that part.
Keep going. Right. And so then I started. I've taught myself a lot of jazz and blues and stuff. Like just listening to people like Oscar Peterson and Petrucciani in Czech Korea and stuff like that. A lot of Latin fusion, and I started doing jazz bars and stuff like that in Malta, which was like there was no dance music in that on the island. Do you know what I'm saying? And this club opened called X's, which was like one of the biggest clubs in actually in the world. I think it was the third biggest or something stupid. Um, um, and then I remember I met Steve, who was obviously a DJ, hip hop DJ. We actually went. We had like a hip hop band, and then Steve was the scratch mixer, and I was the keyboardist. And me and Steve kind of clicked, and the hip hop act kind of dissolved, and me and Steve kept working together. And Steve was the first person kind of to tell me that there is something called a sampler, because he remembers back because he lived in Malta too. So I actually had a sampler without knowing. It was a W30 Roland. And as soon as he told me that, like, the floodgates of creativity came. And obviously I moved from playing complicated jazz music to very simple rave sounds, but it was easier, but it was more fun. All my school friends could come and see me play and stuff like that. So I started playing with Steve at this club called X's. And from there, we started doing records. I mean, those days we were doing hardcore, like Prodigy style. This was before jungle and everything. Um, and one time there was a DJ from England, from Kiss FM, called Graham Gold, and Steve was in England, but I still played when Steve wasn't in Malta. Like, I used to do like 20 minutes on the keyboard and sampler, like basically playing records live. And this DJ recorded me on his huge video camera. Them days they were they were huge. And basically he brought that to England, and a lot of record companies were interested. And obviously he told Graham told me, if you come to England, I'll manage you. So I obviously moved to England with Steve because he was already there. And we started the Rhythm Masters in 1994, 1993, 94. And from there onwards, started doing house music. And we started studying Todd Terry, Little Louis, and all that, and MK those days, and Masters at Work. I mean, and Eric Morillo. We just listened to those records for days, probably on weed or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, we were like big potheads then.
And that's where, and that's how your beginnings became in the house because the rhythm masters were remixing a lot of stuff back then.
Yeah. I mean, all we had was the my W30, and that's how we started doing the records. And our first remix, because I used to play JD Plastic Dreams live, and the RNS were really interested in our version. So that was the first remix that we officially did. I remember they gave us £5,000. And for that time in 1994, it was a lot of money. So we could buy samplers, a mixing desk. We actually completely spent it all on equipment, obviously.
And that's the thing that people don't understand about then, is that you didn't have the band in a box computer, you know, like a laptop with everything. You had to have a full studio, correct?
Yeah, of course. And these pieces of equipment weren't cheap, you know what I'm saying? Like a sampler, an Akai sampler was like £2,500 those days, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, we paid like a big chunk of it. Then the rest was like on credit, you know what I'm saying? So obviously we were just doing music. We weren't doing anything else. So there wasn't a lot of money then. Like, you know, it was very, very like, you know, I mean, you have to realize I came from Malta. Like in Malta, there was no one that done anything with dance music ever. So all my friends, all my family, everyone was like, you're living in your bubble dream world. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and obviously every time there's that, like you have to use that as a challenge to work harder, you know, to prove them wrong.
Let me ask this question.
Yeah.
Maltese is a Mediterranean mentality. They work hard. They're people that work with their hands. What was the family business that was hoped that you would go into? What were they thinking?
My dad owned like coffee shops and stuff like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like in the city of Valletta, which is the main city in Malta. So, you know, like obviously they were hoping I would probably do that, but I have to be honest, my family just did let me do my own thing, you know what I'm saying? Like they didn't like go, oh no, don't do it.
Rob, there was like in my house, it's the same. Italian and Spanish is the same thing. This is what the fear was. What, are you going to be on the street corner playing the instrument? What?
Yeah, you have to realize, I mean, I used to tell them that I did well, but that period I wasn't, you know what I'm saying? I remember we had like, me and Steve had like a 50p electric meter, and I remember trying to like saving our Akai computer, like not Akai, what was it? Atari computer very quickly so the 50p doesn't run out because we didn't have another 50p.
Hang on, I knew somebody in London that was able to rig up a thread, put the thing in, and then turn on and pull the coin back out.
I wish I knew that like that.
So this is called True House Stories for the reasons being the realness of it, you know.
Yes.
Everybody wants to hear I'm playing in front of 1 million people. Yeah, we know that, we see that, but we want to hear the part where you're eating from the can of beans.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean, I remember buying these Tesco sausages. I remember whoever didn't have money those days, he'll know about these Tesco sausages, and they were like £1 for 20. I remember, and I remember they tasted amazing those days. Then I tried them 10 years after, and Jesus Christ, I just wanted to see what I liked.
It's similar to the school kids that ate ramen noodles.
Exactly. Yeah.
You eat ramen noodles to survive, right? Years later, you have ramen noodles. You go, ugh, what was I thinking? But at the time, your mind is geared to one place to make it.
Exactly. And you have to do it for the love. We did it for the love. Even me and Tom do it for the love. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the rest comes later. Do you know what I mean? Like if you don't do it for the love, you won't. I mean, you can do it for the money, but I think
You
the
can hear it in the music, can't you?
exactly, and the soulfulness and the and you know, you know, sometimes you can hear records that don't have life, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Soul.
you know, well, not sometimes, it's
No,
like,
no, you must have passion
yeah,
and not put this as a driving force for the intrinsic value.
yeah,
You have to put it for the passion, because when the passion is well done, the reward is the money, basically.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So, Rob, Rhythm Masters becomes a big thing,
Hmm.
and how does it end?
Well, basically, it well, we started like we blew up in 1996, and we started our own label, Dysfunctional, and everything was doing so well. Um, and then in 2001, it was like 5 years, and we kind of found our differences really. Like there was difference. We're doing different things. You have to realize from 1993 till 2000, we lived in the same flat or house or whatever we had. We, you know, so we didn't have any. All we knew is us and the music. Do you know what I mean? So when we started meeting new people, girlfriends, and stuff like that, you know, like things started kind of changing. You know, it's like we were in a way we were like married. You know, and you have to realize we were still teenagers as well. So it's not like we had any other experiences. You know what I'm saying? So
You're
all we knew is
living the dream.
yeah,
Eat,
you know.
sleep, repeat.
Yeah,
Eat,
yeah,
sleep, repeat.
yeah,
Over
yeah.
and over.
So yeah, when we were doing really well, we were still like teenagers, you
Oh,
know. So
yeah.
you know, so
It's just
Drinking,
mad.
partying. So when
yeah,
so
and you know, the ego was from here to Australia. You know what I mean? You think you're great, and then like this is the great thing about being older, because all that, you know, it's not real. Do you understand what I'm saying? And
It's
yeah,
so funny, isn't it? Because me and you spoke before that, like, if we'd have met when you had your like personality before, Rob, and now in comparison, like whether we'd get on or not, because we get on like a house on fire now, don't we? But like, there's
yeah,
no ego between us at all. It's like
exactly.
it
The
is what
thing
it is.
is,
It's just,
exactly, and I feel like I'm blessed because Tom. I wish I was like Tom when that happened. Do you understand? When like when I was a
yeah,
teenager, but
of
like
course.
different. There's different people. Do you know what I'm saying? It's
But
different
that's
people.
part of the learning experience. If you
Exactly.
knew what you know now, then you wouldn't have made the same mistakes then as you do
Well,
now, right?
they're not mistakes. I mean, I wouldn't take them back because it was fun. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's not mistakes. It's just like
Well,
things you learn from, basically.
mistakes is
Yeah.
sometimes you say to yourself, I wouldn't have done that way when
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
older. Because
Yes.
you say, I don't think I would have done it that way. But when you're in it, you don't know any better. So you're
No.
just
yeah,
going with the flow.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and do it, and you do it for a reason. So, like to look back and go, I wouldn't do that. You'd have to take away the reasoning, which would be wrong,
Yeah,
wouldn't it? So, yeah.
So,
exactly.
so we're gonna put Rob on a hold for a second and let the young Tom
Yeah.
tell us his part of the story with the electric guitar and the bass behind.
Oh, that's conveniently placed. Yeah, so my journey started at 5. I'm 28 now. At the time, I had just started kickboxing with a friend, and we wanted to learn an instrument together. So my mum and his mum sorted us some guitar lessons together, which we were going to once a week, learning like the classic James Bond theme tune and things like that. Song 2. He didn't stick at it, and I did. Went kind of all the way through with it until just before I went to uni. It was never something that like I could see being my job playing guitar, though my granddad wanted that really badly. The production kind of turned itself to be the main thing I wanted to do. But really at a younger age, like the people around me, so my like dad was really into his like rock, like AC/DC, Def Leppard, ZZ Top, and all of that. Mum liked her trance music and stuff like that, and they both liked the same stuff. There was a lot of overlap between the two. So I got a lot of influence from that. And at that age, I was in like really heavy metal bands at school, thinking I was the coolest kid out, and I really wasn't. Like, looking back now, it's just deeply embarrassing. Like, I wish I could have found a photo of it for you, Lenny, but I couldn't. Me in like a bloody like Bring Me Horizon t-shirt, a Battle of the Bands on
See,
stage.
now I'm really
Like,
disappointed. I wanted that. I asked for that. Those pictures.
I know.
I wanted to picture you going young
Squealing into the
the bottle in the
microphone.
mouth. This
Yeah.
is what we want to show. But of course,
So I was doing that for quite a few years at school, like just doing Battle of the Bands, doing like they were like kind of Bring Me Horizon cover sort of music. They're like early stuff, so the super heavy screamo stuff. But at the same time, I had like friends at school that introduced me to like Jay-Z, The Game. So I was really getting that side of it. So I'd had like a lot of dance music from my parents, sort of at school, had a variety of like metal, hip hop, and stuff like that. But a really big influence around that time, and he still is to this day, is actually my dad's dad, Grampy Cross. So he's 90 this year in a few months, and he goes out 3-4 times a week with his piano and still gigs now, and it's the coolest thing. He has like a bunch of backing tracks, goes out, plays to like all the old people homes and like pubs around the area, and he's 90, and like I swear down, it's awesome. Like, it's kept him young. Like at Christmas, we were at mum and dad's and they're over, and he's so on it. Like, we can take the piss out of each other. Like, he tripped over and we were just like kind of like joking about it. But he's 90 and cracking the jokes like he's 40. It's awesome.
Yeah,
but see that music has a tendency to do that, and Rob will tell you that as well. You never feel like you're getting old. Your eyes never change. You're still seeing things as a kid. You know what I mean? The body may be changing, but your eyes are not changing because you're seeing things the same way you saw it then. So for 90, that's, for me, I take my hat off to him going, I want to party with you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
completely. Like, just before Christmas, we went back for like a weekend at dad's, and like, so my parents' house is next door to my nan and gramps' house, and like you can see from my parents' driveway like one of their rooms, and they got a computer in there. It's like a really old iMac, and Gramps is there at 11:30 at night on Band in the Box, like putting in chords and stuff for a Hal Leonard like song he's going to play next week. And he's just doing this on the computer at like 89 at 11:30 at night in December on a cold night, because he's got a gig next week with a saxophonist and a vocalist that he's just prepping the score for. It is wicked. So that for me was like, it is and has always been super inspirational. We used to do little kind of jazz open nights together where he'd give me the music and we'd go along and play. We didn't do it that much, but it was probably like once or twice a month for a while, which was really nice, and that obviously got us really close. So that was kind of my journey up to like uni. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything. No, I'm pretty sure that's it. But I was producing from like 18 onwards. So I've been doing it 16 to 18. So I've been doing it like 10, 12 years now. But at A-level time, kind of, or year like 10 onwards at school, I actually started a disco company. So I was like 15 at the time, and like my social skills were terrible. I was super awkward, super like, I don't know, just not the cool kid at all. And I feel like music has really helped me come out of my shell with that.
Do you really think, looking at Steve Rebel from Studio 54, that he was the cool guy who created that club? He looked like Mr. Nerd. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I know a lot of people in this game that you go, you would never think they would be the ones responsible putting this thing together, but they did. But when you were going to university, what was the thinking process for your career, Tom? Was it you were going to be musical, or were you thinking like you're going to be a doctor or rocket scientist? What's the story here?
It's been music. So I went to a download festival in like 2015 with a couple of friends, and I saw Bring Me Horizon, Eminem came out, and a few other people, and I was sat there, and it's the first thing I went to properly, and I was sat there thinking, that is undoubtedly what I want to do, like head to toe, like goosebumps, like wow, like it really moved me. And I remember turning to my friend going, that's a bit of me that I can see that being where I want to go with life. And I was really fortunate that my parents have always been super supportive. I was kind of lucky enough to feel it deep enough in myself that I kind of wanted that decision firmly enough that they were like, okay, he's serious. So they really supported me and still do to this day, like all the way through my journey.
And that's fabulous to have parents that have the flag out for you. That's a huge
Yeah,
help.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
definitely.
humongous. I wish I had that.
Yeah, I'm very blessed. Yeah.
My father, yeah, he was cool with it, but it wasn't until all of a sudden I had a hit record that somebody came to and said, because he's got the same name as me.
Mm.
They said to him, Lenny, did you make that record? He goes, no, that's my son. So it was like, that was the cool part
Oh,
for a parent to find out that your son's making these hit records. But anyway,
wow,
that's not my story.
that's crazy.
How do you guys, the connection begin? Where does this meeting happen?
Well, basically after the Rhythm Masters, I moved and started doing like indie dance electro kind of for another 10 years, you know. And I toured with Prodigy, Pendulum, and all them for 10 years. So I was an emo for 10 years, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then in 2016, uh, me and Steve kind of said, should we try again? You know, and we formed the Rhythm Masters again. And me and Tom met at a DJ gig, a data transmission, like online DJ gig. And Tom
Mm.
came with some of his friends there. And we started chatting, and we kept on chatting on socials and stuff. And suddenly we started giving each other ideas, like music
Mm.
ideas, and it started to flow so well that we just went, oh shit, there's something here like that could become a really cool act. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Definitely.
how it started.
Yeah,
So,
because your studio was like 10 minutes from where I was living at the time. Because I moved in with my like fiance's family at that point.
Right.
Yeah, in Saltdean, like, and they've been a massive influence in my musical process too. Like, it's actually funny, just a quick one. So I don't know if you guys know of the Delorme. They remixed "Turn Me," Kathy Brown, "Turn Me Out," and we are releasing this Friday, or by the time this comes out, probably not 19th of Jan, a big version of that on Toolroom. So it's so weird how like it's gone full circle again.
It's
Um,
crazy, man.
yeah, it's mad. But yeah, so I was living like 10 minutes down the road.
so
Um,
actually, you met at a data transmission gig,
yes, yeah,
and then you
yeah.
started talking through social media, I presume, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I kept
Because
sending Rob like edits and tunes I were doing at the time and like sampling stuff, and he was kind of like feeding back, going, "Oh, do you know what? That's really cool, but why don't you try this, this, and this?" And I was going away and kind of doing a lot of what he was saying,
What
but
I
like,
liked about Tom as well is like I remember like a very very crazy question that a person would like ask you. You know what I'm saying? And I've been asked this question so many times, where you go, I'm thinking of going to work or to uni or like do music professionally. What shall I do? Do you know what I'm saying? And I told him, if you want to do music, like you have to do it 100%. Do you know what I mean? You can't do both. Do you know what I mean? And he did it. He bought everything I told him, like, you know, like the Abletons, like, oh, everything. He just, like, you know what I mean, went completely, you know, and you see the hunger and the determination of a person there. So many people I've told that, and you never hear of them again because they started working.
well,
Or
you can ask me that question to me. You could say to me the question if someone asked me, like Tom would ask me, should I do this? You know, what's involved? And my answer would be, leave now, run away,
yeah,
quit.
yeah,
Because if you're not 100,000 trillion bazillion invested in this, you'll
Mm.
never make it.
never, no.
It's so true. And also, I feel like there's been invested, but then there's being like, there's the whole part of it where are you willing to sacrifice like having to learn and about yourself, about the industry, to go through hardship, to like grow as a person, grow as a business person, a musician, a social media like professional these days. It's suddenly like
I
being a
mean,
producer these days.
for me, the social media thing,
Yeah,
obviously, I've had to learn so much from Tom. This is the beauty of this. I'm teaching him
It's like a
something.
tango. It's like a
It's
rumba. He
like
teaches
it's
yeah,
you
crazy. You know
dance,
what
I
I'm saying?
move back. You move
yeah.
forward, I go back. You know, it's like we
It's
have
a
to
Yeah,
three.
you get
you
me.
know,
It's
because
a 300-mile tango.
Tom, when Rob was coming up, there was no internet.
Yeah,
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 Rob, when Tom was coming up, there's tons of internet.
fuck
there
yeah.
is, mate.
That's
When Rob
fucking
was
So
coming
amazing.
on,
he's born with this in his hand already. He's got this
Exactly.
thing in his hand. When we were doing it back in the times of the beginning of it was all archaic. So
Yeah.
try
yeah,
telling someone that's used to working an old school way that now music doesn't matter, social media matters.
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me say that once more. Music doesn't matter. Social media matters. And that's difficult for someone who's a musician, who
Of
has
course. Of course.
passion. How do you balance this? What did you do? What did you
It's
say to him?
definitely. Go on, Rob.
it's
Sorry.
it's like I know. Obviously, I know so many producers like from back in the day that when they go, oh fucking hell, they've sampled that again. I can't believe they're copying that record. Oh my god. But the thing is, if you got that experience, why don't you use it for the new generation as well? This is like another thing,
Definitely,
and
definitely.
and again, if social media is so important, which I think is equally as important as your records, do you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It's like you have to embrace it, because you're just gonna drown with the dinosaurs, you know what I'm
That's right.
saying?
That's
You
right.
know,
So when you guys came together, when was it officially that you said, all right, Rob, Tom, let's do this. Let's go and we're gonna put
Mm.
these ski masks
um,
and we're gonna go rob banks
Yeah.
and we're gonna play this game and nobody's gonna know who we are so that we can try to get over and see how long this will go before we get caught. So whose idea was it?
it was yours,
Well,
Rob, wasn't it?
yeah,
Because
it was
we
mine.
we were linking up in Brighton at that point and had like quite a few sessions at Rob's studio at the time. Got like a batch of music together of like 10, 12 sort of semi-finished tracks. We suddenly go like, there's kind of a vibe here. You were in between stuff. You were looking at some drum and bass stuff at the time, weren't you? And I was doing kudos with my fiance's dad and just bootlegging stuff to get a presence on SoundCloud with DJs and stuff like that. And you were linking up and going, maybe we should do something. And you had the idea for Who previously, didn't you? And it never really
Yeah,
got used. You had the logo and the concept, and it kind of
yeah.
felt right to go. Let's
It's
adopt
like,
that and see.
yeah, and like let's say let's do this. I had the idea of Who with the logo from before, and never really had a partner to do it kind of
Mm,
properly. You know what I mean? So we tried it. Obviously, the concept of the mask, we wanted people like to love us just for the music, and
mm.
obviously here we were going against, like
Every
you were
house music
talking about,
rule.
the social media thing. Everyone wants your personality and everything. Do you know what I mean? They
Yeah,
want to know everything about you nowadays. So we were
definitely.
completely
Well,
going.
one other group did it and did it well out of Paris, Daft Punk,
Yeah,
they did it
but
where they came out robots. The
yeah, but
robots
you have to
became
realize, like, Daft Punk started not with the masks, and then when they had the hits, they could have wore nappies because they would have like, you understand? It's like then
Yeah.
then when you have the hits, then you do the robot thing, people are gonna embrace it. Like, obviously
Mm.
they're amazing. I mean, they've changed the sound of a generation.
No, of
So
course. No, I'm saying this, but I remember people were saying the robots. Like it was like, wait. These guys are two. Thomas Bangwolf and the kid comes. come on, this is not, they're not robots. So the thing was, when I saw this concept, for me, it was reminding me of a Daft Punk concept.
Yeah, no. A lot of people thought, a lot of people were thinking it was them. Do you know what I mean? At the beginning,
that was definitely like part of the big inspiration, wasn't it? But there was another big part as well with the mask where you were just also trying to be cautious, Rob, because obviously you'd gone from like house away from house and back, and we still are trying to do like very, I'm not going to say purist house, but like not going near EDM, abiding by the house rules, like so it fits and is respected by the scene. But still kind of breaking it while still working with like Steve Angelo and people like that are big in not the house scene, but like still doing it. But you wanted to try and give it like a clean slate, no judgment, fresh start, like this is me and you sort of thing, didn't you, Rob?
Yeah, exactly. Like, because you have to realize, coming from the rhythm masters, I didn't want people to judge our music because of that as well. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, I came from South Central, like, and the other band I was doing was kind of an EDM drum and bass electro kind of act. So I didn't want anyone to kind of judge my past, like from because of my past, the music. So it was like a clean slate. And after 5 years, we kind of decided, I think a lot of time passed and we've proved ourselves with WhO musically. And it was time, I think, that, you know, and as well, another point, hey, Tom, was like, because a lot of people, because we were masked, where the look was, they were going, are they in a EDM act or are they a house act? Everything was like, there was a lot of confusion with promoters, and everyone wanted to book us, but didn't want to book us because of the masks either. It was really weird. Like, it was really weird because
it's true.
EDM acts have masks, house acts don't.
Yeah, no, and I get that. You know, like the mouse, Dead Mouse is a perfect example. He takes the hat off and then he talks to you as not as Dead Mouse, but then he puts the hat on. It looks like a Mickey Mouse hat, big hat. He's a really cool guy. I like him. He's a good guy. I spoke to him a few times over the years. But you're right. Those types of personas are looked at in the electronic dance music world, not in the house world. So it's kind of like, what do we do? I can understand some promoters are thinking, oh my God, if I book them with the mask, people are going to think it's an EDM event.
Yeah,
because of
definitely.
Because of the visual.
Yeah.
And also that goes both sides. Now, sometimes when you're too house, you're too musical, you can't play those type of events that are EDM-ish. So it's 6 in one hand,
exactly,
0 in the other. Not even the dust. 6 in 1, 0. It's like,
it's true. We started to do the math with it all, and we're like, it's so weird. The further we're getting through the years and years of WhO, and the bigger things are getting, the gigs are getting less. And it was like something's not right. You know, we did what was that festival we did in France, Rob, with Madame Royale, right?
Royale.
So we played there, and it was in like a big coliseum, 2,000 people. It was an awesome event. We played a really French house set. I mean, everybody loved it. We had great feedback, and then the agent couldn't pitch us out because nobody in France wanted anybody with a mask that was doing a house act. And you go, okay. And then like a few more stories came back, and it was suddenly the only gigs we were kind of getting booked for was contacts that we have that are like, we're kind of mutually fans of each other, and it was great. Or we did print works with Baker Matt in February last year, which was the craziest gig we've done to date. But Baker Matt is not like a pure house act, so we fit on the lineup with the masks. But it's not like with the masks on, we were going to be booked to go back to back with Green Velvet or MK or someone like that. So after we did all this sort of like, 5 years of giving it a go, producing for other people in the scene that, to really help the reputation and remixing a lot of classic records. We did Lil Mo Yin Yang, and like loads like that as well, just to really help the reputation of that we are trying to, you know, like we are trying to be a serious house artist. We're not here for a minute and we're not messing about, sort of thing. It was like, it's got to be the masks. Like, unless somebody's got a vendetta against Rob that they're not telling me from a previous life.
Sure,
Lenny.
of course, and that makes total sense. And you know, and I can understand the whole. It's tough, you know. It's a rock and a hard place scenario. You're trying to do an image, and you're also going. Now what? Now what do we do? Because also goes back to Rob's original thing when he was a teenager. Now we got to make some money to survive this thing. You know, it's like, you know, the gigs are coming, or are we not getting the gigs? Why are we not getting the gig? Wait, we got a huge record, we're not getting the gig. When we had nothing, we were getting the gigs. So it's a tough, it's a push and pull.
Oh, it's crazy because as soon as we took the masks off,
what happened?
So many gigs are coming in.
Did you get a call from Coco Chanel too to do the front cover?
Yeah.
Did you get Time Out magazine want to do a spin on you guys? Like, what happened?
We're going, who the fuck is that 20-year-old Rob doing? Who is he?
No, what happened was we basically straight away had a bunch of agents interested, and like we've got lots of gigs penciled in this year already. Like, they're all being confirmed over the next 8 weeks or so, because it's been such a new thing and everybody was off for Christmas. Like, the whole industry just shuts down, doesn't it, from like early December until mid to late January, let's be honest. So like now everybody's back up and started again pretty much from April onwards. We should be gigging a lot, which is awesome. Because also, right, we're writing all these records that are designed and built for the clubs, and they're not playing them in a club, so you can't even hear what they're actually like. You know, you can't test records because like we test them on the radio show and like where we can, but I mean, it's such an important part.
I mean, we see all the other DJs playing them.
Well, that actually makes
which is more important than you playing them.
Oh, for sure.
No. But we were, you know, we're really eager to play them. Like, we're like kids, you know, like we're like fucking up. When it's our time to play.
Of course. But more importantly, don't forget, you need all of us DJs to play the record.
Definitely,
100%.
And that's a really good point.
That a lot, like.
For sure. And that's actually such a good point. And it was another thing that we were going, are we doing something wrong? Because like there was the list of big DJs playing our music was insane. And like, I'm really not trying to sound boastful at all. It was honestly like mind blowing, you know, like 12-year-old me looking at this would be like, surely that's not you. You know, it's crazy. And like Claptone, most DJ sets on YouTube have got at least 2 or 3 of our songs in from the whole of last year and a bunch of other stuff. But we were going, it's got to be the mask, surely. Like, why are we not gigging? But every big DJ is playing the songs. They're getting millions of streams.
So, was it planned for you guys to go to MistaJam's show and make this unveiling, or that just happened on the cuff?
No, that just happened there and then. Do you know what I mean? So, like Tom was like, "Should we do it?" And we weren't obviously talking about it here and there, do you know what I mean? And kind of it felt the right time, do you know what I mean? It felt like it was the right time.
Definitely.
And we just did it, man. It was mental. Even you have to realize, because a lot of people were asking us, did you go to MistaJam's show without the mask, then put them on, then take them off? No, we went.
Yeah, of course.
Like MistaJam never seen our face. Do you know what I mean?
Which is mad, because we've been working with him for like since the start. He supported really our early records when he was on Radio 1.
Now I'll tell you something from our side. Some of us thought for sure, we didn't know about Tom, but we said, is that right? And I told Tom this before off air. I said, we thought it was Rob from Rhythm Masters, but we weren't sure. We're like, that's gotta be him. It's him. We know it's him because the music is going this way. It's starting to sound more and more like reminiscent to that. You know, the older guys would know. The new guys don't have any reference points.
No.
If you know the records from back in the day, you go, wait a minute, this sounds like somebody. Wait a minute, I know where. Because the formula is the formula. You know,
Yeah.
you cover it up, you put a new face on it, but the formula is the formula. You know, Tom brings his piece, Rob brings his piece. So you bring the mask off, MistaJam looks all excited. Oh my God, it is all theatrical. We actually know who it is. And right then from there, you guys now no longer masked. And now we're able to get you on my show, which was nice, and I appreciate you coming on.
I sometimes wear it for a laugh. Like, no.
Maybe when you stop at the bank, you put it on, you bring a paper.
Yeah.
Go like this in the paper. Give me $1 million. But anyway, you know, so now I'm looking forward, and I'm going to mention this out there to everyone because this is a personal friend of mine. When you mentioned about classics and records, and you mentioned her name before. Everyone, Kathy Brown, that we all love and revere, has battling, and I've mentioned this on other shows. She's battling cancer, lung and brain, and it's been a tough road. And these two wonderful guys, the WhO, decided to take one of her classics and mash it up. And I'm going to let them tell the story of this release and how this all came together because it's a big piece to the pie. And Kathy's a part of our legendary house history. So, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom. Take it away. Tell us about Kathy Brown and the new single and the whole.
Mate, so we had the pleasure of working with her. Was it just before COVID, Rob? Like 2019? Like with Believer?
Yeah.
She did a vocal for us.
One second. One quick question. Very important. When Kathy came in the studio, did she have to sign a disclosure that she saw your faces and never mention who it was? Or did you have your masks on when you brought Kathy in?
We sit there in the masks every time.
Yeah, you sit. No way. Come on.
We had a session with Nile Rodgers and we're just in the mask at the back with them on.
Okay. That's enough of my question. Sorry for interrupting, but I needed to know that part.
All good. Yeah, so we had a track with her called Believer on our label a few years ago. And I found out the news recently. I was a bit late to the party that she'd been struggling with cancer. So I said to the boys, look, why don't we re-release the track on Beatport with the a cappella and give all the proceeds to her through our label and distribution to, you know, try and help her. I mean, I can't even imagine how tough a time she's going through. That happened, I think, November, December last year. Then we got a phone call from Mark Knight and the team saying they absolutely love the idea. And they'd grabbed the classic a cappella from Kathy and put it over our track Deeper. With James Heard, Mark and James got in the studio together and mashed it up to form this mashup, hence why there's all of us on the record now. And Mark was like, look, like, I love the idea you've got, you know, doing a good thing. We've obviously got a bigger reach. We hopefully can make the record big. And everybody's signed away every bit of every right to the record. So whatever payments, contributions, everything goes to Kathy and her family from this record. So we went to London last week and did a back-to-back with Mark Knight that will push the record that comes out on Friday, which was really cool. That was awesome to do. And, you know, we're really hoping that everybody gets behind it because I think she's trying to raise $40,000 on her GoFundMe page. And if we can help towards that in any way possible, then
even like, you know, because we had to clear all the sound, like obviously her vocal needed to be cleared. Everyone done everything for free here. Do you know what I mean? It was great. You know what I mean? Everyone's
because I remember two friends of mine I both know very closely. Alda Marin from Cutting Records has the single, the master rights. Dave Shaw produced it. Another good friend of mine from back in the day. He produced it. So everybody I heard everybody, including Shannon Francis, Bucks Publishing, everybody came together as one big happy family to give it a good pass.
Yeah, literally. And I think all this was done in something like under 72 hours from like an idea that came out as a mashup from James and Mark's studio in London all the way to the song being cleared and going, yeah, we're going to put this on Tool Room. It's going to come out January 19th. Let's go. Literally less than 3 days. So like everybody's efforts, and has been amazing.
Well, then that's on that. And now we got the gigging. We have Time Magazine's Men of the Year. Both of you are going to be doing front cover of when they pull the masks off. Who are those masked men? Rob and Tom.
Yeah.
Fellas from the neighborhood. Regular guys. Even
Yes, sir.
regular guys can become superheroes. You took your superhero masks off to show that you're regular guys with a lot of heart. And you really do have a lot of heart. Both
Yeah, I
Thank you,
mean,
mate.
this is
No,
it, you
thank
know,
you.
like music. This record's got a lot of meaning. It's just like, you know, it's got a bigger meaning than just releasing a record. You know what I'm saying? If you know what I mean.
Definitely. And the amount of people involved that have gone, yeah, let's all do a good thing together, like, just proves how amazing the house community is. And also, like, that's what house music was always about, wasn't it? Like, the love and respect for everybody. So I feel like even that in itself has done the full circle here to go, let's give back to, like, the best cause we can.
Let me be clear about this, everybody. Right now, everybody's in the love and kissing mode. I remember the wars of the house scene.
Oh, really?
The competitiveness in a good spirit. You know, always with love. But it's like any job or sport. Even if you're playing football or you're in Formula One, most of the time you hear the same thing. Everybody's good friends until they get on the field. Then it changes for that moment. And then we resume back after as good friends. But so on the rise to becoming the #1 producer remixer DJs of 2024, because you're on the rise to getting there. What's the plan moving forward now, guys?
Well, we've got a new live setup as well, which I'm gonna like play samplers and keyboards, and Tom is gonna do the CDJs. So it will be all like there'll be a good wicked live element in our shows now as well.
We realized, like, for the past like few years, we've not been leaning into our strengths. So, like, Rob, obviously you can DJ and you've always done that, but like your live performance side is where you proper shine, isn't it? You know, and like we've never even really done that as WhO. So to have that while I'm DJing, which is my probably forte, over producing, if anything, really, which I'm excited for, will be that. But in terms of this year for like music and all that, the end of last year, we actually put on a writing camp just for us, which was such a mind-blowing experience to have like vocals coming down every day, vocalists coming down every day. Like we had Angie Brown down and Lisa Lamola, I'm forgetting loads, but like loads of vocalists for a whole week. We got like 20-25 tracks recorded vocally. So at the minute, we're just trying to get the sort of layout of this year sorted. We've got one signed, so we got Turn Me Deeper on 19th of Jan, and then in February we got Something to Sweat It Out, which is like a big gospel house record. We've got a remix of James. We've got a remix of James Hype out in the next month or so. Is it end of January, Rob? Was it?
I think so. Yeah, that's end of January.
Yeah, and then at the minute we're just on the crazy finish of like 10-15 records, just to try and get this year.
There's a lot of them have homes while they're getting finished, if you know what I'm saying. So
yeah, we've obviously got the record deal with Ministry of Sound, so we are just getting the next two for that finish for this year. Because to be signed to Ministry of Sound again, like little me would be like, nah, surely not. And to be here, it's mad. It blows my mind.
Tom, is it what you thought it would be when you were growing up? Now that you're in it, you know, I'm not saying growing up, but you know what I mean, coming up in the business, you didn't have success yet. You're watching it. Is it is it really playing out to be what you in your mind dreamed of it to be?
That's such an interesting question, and I could either speak for 10 seconds or 10 hours on this. Yes, it is, right? I feel like the music industry is it's one of the hardest industries. Everybody says it, but what I've learned about myself along the way, and even just learning to like enjoy the journey, like ride the lows when they're there, ride the highs when they're there, like knowing that it's all going to even out in the end. You're all going to always going to come back to the middle, and just deeping things when they come in, like when there's a bit of good news coming in that you signed a record to a record label, like, make sure you feel it the same as when you first got told it, because it's still a big thing. Like, having something on Ministry of Sound, I mean, it's insane. Like, I remember getting a DJ competition thing when I was younger, and I was meant to go there, and it all fell through. And I was meant to have this like DJ set in Ministry of Sound, like where I had a lesson, and instead it all fell through. And I got some CDs and merch for Ministry of Sound and a tool room with Mark Knight. And recently we've signed the record deal with Ministry and just done a back-to-back with Mark Knight in London. So like I feel like to really enjoy it, because it's so easy to take stuff for granted and be like, oh yeah, we've done that, but how come we haven't done that? Like, I want to focus on, let's say out of 100 we're at 70, I want to focus on the 70 and really appreciate that, instead of just going, oh yeah, but there's 30 more, because otherwise you'll endlessly chase, because there is no ceiling in this industry. Literally,
there is.
you could be my Gramps age and chasing and crying and scraping down label walls trying to get a hit, but like, that's just not how it works. There's so much luck involved. There's so much like right place, right time, the right record, the right time. There's the wrong record, the wrong time too. Like, we've had so many songs out where I go, yeah, I feel like this is the one deep in my gut, and then wrong place, wrong time, wrong record label, wrong promo company. It could be a million different things. But to answer your question long and short, yeah, it's amazing. Like, I'm so grateful to do what we do. And I try and remind myself that regularly, because I've got friends that work 9 to 5 or have worked 9 to 5 and are just coming in the music industry and are on that like low end trying to get into it. And it's easy to forget what the struggle is like, where you're trying to get those like 10,000 hours. And for me, it's like just getting the consistency at this point, where I have a boring same routine where I up at the same time, get in the studio, get the hours in, work on lots of things, and try and keep the fun of it there. Like the experimentation. They're like not working on just one thing. So, like, me and Rob are fortunate with our inspirations and opportunities. Like, we're doing a game soundtrack at the minute that ranges from like techno, house, drum and bass, indie, and it's a 6-tracker soundtrack. But it's just keeping it fresh and like fun, because it's so easy for it to get heavy and disheartening, and like, oh, we've had a big label say this, and oh, it's only got X amount of streams, or no DJs have supported it. But the industry, you've got to take the wins when they come, I promise you, because otherwise it will be the most depressing thing you'll ever do, getting into the music industry. But if you look at it the right way,
Sure.
It can be the complete opposite.
Let me ask Rob the question appropriate to him now. Rob, you being a veteran, coming from nothing into something, like a roller coaster, changing gears and going out, doing the live circuit for years. Did you ever think it would come back around again like this for you in house music again?
What I feel lucky is, like, I think it's why it's a very vital point why there's still that veteran that is still connected to the young generation. What happened is, when I finished with the Rhythm Masters and started South Central, which is like this electro band, I still stayed, like, I went back to the young generation again. You know what I mean? I didn't stay with the old house producers still making the same house music of before and reminiscing, you know what I'm saying, that period. I think then obviously I've moved genres. I mean, I wasn't doing any house music at all. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just like guitars, amps. It was crazy. So I completely changed. And then I moved to like electro, dubstep, drum and bass. So I've learned all those genres, still stayed with the young generation. So when I met Tom, I kind of could understand his mentality. Like, do you understand? It's really hard to say it in a way where I think, well, I probably was, people can understand what I'm trying to
Well,
say.
I'll put you like this. It sounds like you didn't get bitter.
No,
You looked for the young, you looked for the next cool thing, which was
yeah,
going to keep
but
you.
it was. That's what I felt to do, if you know what I mean. I didn't actually think that's the cool thing, let me do that. I just felt like doing it.
Rob, I got this image of you with a clipboard in your head going, I need a 23-year-old male that's good at house music,
Yeah.
like looking at You obviously didn't do that.
No. This is like
It's
what
like
Tom was
it's like
saying as well.
almost saying, Tom, hang on, Rob. It's like almost saying, like, I need to get a facelift, but we're not going to do the surgery. We're just going to change up and do something a little different,
Yeah,
freshen the shit up, and get out there and make some things happen.
Yeah,
definitely.
and obviously, I don't know, like, I always believed in doing what I feel musically, and the success came because of that. Do you know what I mean? And I always said this to Tom, obviously, because obviously he was new to this, to the business. And now obviously he can see that, and he can do his own thing. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, but like, I wish I had, but the good thing about Tom is, like, he listens. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I was his age and someone is telling me that, probably I wouldn't have listened. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm a completely different. You know what I
See
mean?
what I was saying to you before about that thing? When you look back, you say, I wouldn't have done it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, those days in the beginning, there wasn't that the thing before, because it was
That's
new. Do you
right.
understand?
There was no regulations. There
No.
was no way of doing anything. You had to
Yeah.
kind of go with whatever you went and say, if it
Exactly.
works, it works. If it doesn't,
Now there's a whole business behind it. You know what I mean? So
Definitely. And there's things as well that like work so nicely in parallel, like our love for just such a variety of music that like, I mean, our tastes overlap so much, don't they, Rob? Where,
yeah.
inspirations where like you sort of are the old school, me the new school, and then we kind of do that and come back to the middle
Yeah.
where there's the inspirations where it's fresh, but there's like it's not so modern that you go, it's kind of throwaway, but there's that class to it. But even in our personal listening and like
Yeah.
outside of WhO and house music, what we work on together and all of that, like it's so in
Ex-
line, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know?
Like, for example, like sometimes when you hear drum and bass and stuff, like where in the middle of the drop, the bass changes. Like in house music, for example, it stays the same all the way. But what about if the bass changes in the middle of the drop of a house record? Like stuff like that, you can learn from other genres. Like, it's so important to listen to other producers and genres. Like, don't just listen to house music. If you're doing house music, listen to a lot of, I'm obviously speaking to the listeners here.
yeah, right. In other words, broaden your horizons.
Yeah,
Yes,
for
Oh,
sure.
music, sure.
For
I have
sure.
one
One of
last
my
question.
things.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tom. Before I have one main question that has been on my mind, kind of like scratching at me with the way social media is. Has Peter Townsend from the WhO contact you guys about the name?
No, he hasn't.
I'm
but you
wondering about
realize
that.
we're not the WhO, we're WhO, but with the zero at the end, and it's trademarked as well, so we're all right there legally.
Oh, then we see
Yeah.
there's your answer.
Yeah.
There's the answer I wanted to hear. Oh God.
Yeah.
Been
Man.
a great journey. I mean, you guys, I can only say I wish you, tremendous amount of success onto the next part of it, because I know you're going to be gigging all over the place. And I like the idea of the live with the DJ. I think it's appropriate. I think it's needed. It's going to have you guys stand out. You're going to be a standout
Hopefully.
act. Are you also going to have singers on there too with these live shows? Or are you just going to do just?
Not to
No,
start with.
not
We want to
with.
keep it like dead clubby if we can to start with, just to like you're there and you're experiencing us giving you a performance sort of thing. And then, if there is like a booking for a main stage, massive festival somewhere, and we've just had a big single out. Yeah, we bring the singer along, they sing the big single, and we do the set sort of thing.
Well, Glastonbury will be calling soon. Don't worry about that. You'll be doing the main stage in Glastonbury.
Yes, please. Yeah, I know.
Well, I want to wish you guys a great amount of success in 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 to come in front, because I think you got some good years ahead of you to really set some, precedents. This music's not going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, I see it's evolving to even a bigger level. It's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it is. It's so true.
EDM people are starting to come to the house side now. It's like they're leaving the dark side. They're coming to the colorful side. They're leaving the dark side. They're coming to the colorful side.
That's what happened.
All the Americans want to come to the UK labels now, and all the UK people want to go to the American labels.
Well, there's not really not many American labels at that level, except like Insomniac, which is more the EDM stuff, or they're even starting to touch the house stuff now. They're starting to realize that the market's evolving. It's changing again.
Definitely. Even Higher Ground, all of that scene. They're all getting on it quick, which is
great. Yeah,
it's great for all of us.
It's a win-win.
Cycle again in the cycle of house music life to come through again.
Yeah, exactly.
On that note, everyone, I want to thank the WhO for a fantastic time telling us your story. And I'm so glad you got real deep with us. And Rob, you're a legend, mate. Don't stop. Tom, you're about ready to become a legend.
Thank you very much.
You're from bronze to silver. Rob's in silver to gold. Rob's in gold level. You're coming up now. You're going to be a legend soon yourself, because the more singles that become huge, the more it locks in the talent, the more shows what you have out there, and the more everyone can stop saying you guys ain't shit, because you are shit. You're doing it. You're now a force to be reckoned with. The WhO, everyone.
Thank you.
Check out Kathy Brown's single. Watch all the singles coming up. Get your tickets for them wherever they come, all over the UK. Their dates are coming out. April, May, June, July. They'll be probably doing Australia next year. All that stuff.
Lenny, one question for you, mate, before we shoot. I'm trying to listen to 100 albums this year that I've not heard before. Can you recommend me one?
Me?
Yeah.
Chicago.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Chicago 1, the gold album. 25-624.
Shit. I haven't heard.
I will listen to it.
And listen, when I started out making music, Earth, Wind and Fire, Chicago, Ramsey Lewis, I listened to Chick Corea, I listened to all that jazz stuff, Roy Ayers, to make the records that we were doing in the late 80s and 90s that were reminiscent to the disco sound. Now, in this time, I'm getting those same people coming to me, knocking at my door saying, can you do what you did in the 90s? It's like, okay.
It's mental.
So when you look at the 90s, it's like looking at the 70s with a mirror. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
So Chicago.
That's crazy how it works.
It's the truth. And then I'm doing stuff where I'm going, is that how we did it back then? Yeah. That's how we done it back then. Except with the technology. Instead of it being, say, a Juno 106, the Juno 106 is in the board, or whatever I'm using, whatever keyboard, or stuff. It's crazy now. Such a wild. So Chicago is definitely a band I would say invest your time in.
I will. I've heard of them and listened to a few.
Street Player, Kenny Dope sampled.
Of course, mate. I forgot they did Street Player.
These sounds. No. But the early stuff, you listen to the horn sections and how they laid everything out. It's a bunch of jazz musicians that were in high school together that became rock guys. They became rock guys in 1970, a rock band that before there was anything like that on the radio, they were there creating the road to what came after. Chicago made those bands. Santana, Chicago, Led Zeppelin, all were around that same time.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
So that's your listening. That's what I recommend you, Chicago.
Okay.
My kind of town, Chicago is. For house music too. That's where Chicago. That's where it comes from. The start of it was in Chicago. New York made it huge, but Chicago was where it really started.
Exactly.
The music all you guys do, you must thank all the Chicago guys, because those are the guys that help formulate the sound that we will play now.
100%.
For
And
sure.
on that note, everyone, have a good evening. Thanks for tuning in to True House Stories, and the WhO will keep you whoified with their song, their music.
Yes.
Thanks to everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you,
one.
man.